Wakoski. She's featured in many anthologies around the world, and in the Norton Anthology. I know I'm using an anthology in my poetry class, and she's prominent in that. She has won a number of awards. She has a recent book, a long history with Black Sparrow Press out of Santa Rosa, California, and the new book is The Butcher's Apron. Is that right? And that's pretty recent, and she's taught at Michigan State University for a long time as a poet there. She comes to Detroit to read for us. I know one of the last times we had her here was with Ed Sanders over at the library. And she's one of America's finest poets, and she's a good friend of mine, and I'm really happy to have her here. Please welcome Diane Wakoski.
Tango Lesson, which if you haven't seen, you should rush out and rent it in the video store. This is about my obsession of watching dance movies. And tell me, Robert, if I'm not reading loud enough, that this room just hushes you down, I think. So let me know if you can. The Tango Lesson. Lights in the cinema theater come up. Only a few of us, like the cans of hominy in a cupboard left when everything popular has been eaten, still sit there. We are women, except one sleeping fat man in suspenders. And most of us are fat too, as summer ears amaze. The bulging polyester pantsuit in the row behind me crunched popcorn and crackled her bag like frying tortillas throughout the entire film. But it didn't matter. The music obliterated everything as I huddled in my own discreet elastic-waisted denim trousers and leg jacket. First, it was Dirty Dancing that I went back and saw 4 times, and which some woman in Detroit said in a newspaper article that she saw 104 times while on a reducing diet. Why would she need to diet? As I watched it, I was the doctor's slim daughter on vacation at Grossinger's, transformed into the spangled merengue dancer, lifted in tulle up in the air to show Daddy how good she was. Then came Strictly Ballroom, more literary, or sepia-toned, yet wild with its Australian satire on Apollonian order. The English world of regulation ballroom dance, the irony of Latin dances performed by rigid rules, the begging for a passionate pasadobla. Once he puts his hand on her waist, as tight as the silk inside a raw ear of corn, she moves with the natural precision of its rows of perfect kernels. Old and fat women, like her grandmother in this Latin family, carry the flamenco tang into each swipe of a broom. The competition now is about love. The dance scenes were the real sex scenes. Correct that. It was learning to dance that was so sexy. Maybe the reciprocity of teaching and learning, they are the ultimate acts of making love. The lights shimmer, modulate up in the theater. We are the same women, I, the goddess of corn, too old for a life of passion or dance, but not for other forms of teaching and learning. In the movie palace, we are still all women, prim, prissy, scholarly, and now old tamale hips Diane. Other women with pimple faces or dowdy bodies, sexless thin women in stick dresses, parched corn women, corn husk dolls, fat women in tents, mostly women watching transformations. Usually we are watching the rules of the perfect body Apollonian world being overturned by messy, yet more beautiful Dionysian dancers who dance to live, who more precisely and beyond rules define the possibility of origin, abandonment, ecstasy as they dance, dance, dance for joy, for love, making love, yes, transcending sex. Though in the movies, even yours, Sally, they get that too. For the viewers, myself, and these other women, it's food. Our creamed corn eyes melting onto the screen as we watch the dancers. Next, there is your film, The Tango Lesson. About making art, but it's the same lesson of Apollonian rigidity and order, giving away to passion. Only when she, played by you, Sally Potter, dances in the club, does he see her. And even then, he takes her to the professional exhibition dance stage and grinds her with the rules she cannot heartily follow. This film is for intellectuals, but it's too romantic for them, too corny. They think it's about love when it's really about dance, or they think it's about dance when it's really about love. Kind of wild. No wonder you made an unpopular film, Sally. No takers. A romantic film about learning to tango, which is really about finding out how important it is to be Jewish. There's Dance With Me that I've already seen twice during its opening week in my hometown. I sit through the entire credits at the end each time and find the usual assortment of women, like myself, still there, waking with me like wet cornmeal out of the film. The boy from Cuba searching for his father. This is the first of these movies with a boy so beautiful you want to cry. He's played by a 38-year-old actor. That fact makes me really cry. Attractive actors, of course, in all the other films, but in this one, the boy is a young Tyrone Power with a Cuban accent, a Tom Cruise, a Rock Hudson, even a young Elvis. And when he dances the rumba or the cha-cha-cha in his black and white zoot suit shoes in the Cuban club in Houston, Texas, you are moving in your seat with him, cob-knocking, fields full of goddess grain, corn-inspired. You are practically out in the aisle of the theater. It's so hard to sit still. You realize that you are wasting your life, or since you are 60, that you have already wasted your life. And finally, you know you should never have allowed yourself to find any way to let life interfere with dance. You remember that your old bookkeeper mother met your young sailor father, disastrously, of course. Shades of maenads, satires, firelight at a dance. A public dance hall she went to on weekends filled with sailors on the Long Beach Pier in Southern California in the late 30s. I was conceived, I am sure, after they went dancing, which accounts for this strange streak of joy that runs through me, the desire to dance. I tell myself as the lights come up with the last moments of salsa cubana ringing out of the stereo, that I am not pathetic like the other women there in the theater. I am the corn goddess. I may look pathetic, but that's because I am old and not thin like a tortilla. Of course, I also have a face stiff as if dried with a cornstarch solution in which we used to dip our crinoline petticoats when I was a teenager. But I am not bereft of joy, goddess joy. I am still the Southern California girl who danced with excitement each summer when she got to go to the yearly La Habra Corn Festival. In the corridors of the mall, I almost dance out to the car to drive home and tell my husband the movie was just as good the second time as the first. I might even go again tomorrow and treat myself to one more ecstatic fling. Rolled in cornmeal, flaming with chunky salsa pumps, dancing the polenta mysteries in this Eleusinian ballroom. I always enter through the veiled films like Dirty Dancing, Strictly Ballroom, Dance with Me, and Sally Potter's The Tango Lesson. This poem from Medea the Sorceress is called Money Light. Last night, I danced alone in my darkened living room. Usually when I do this, I am rock and rolling in a way I'd be embarrassed to do in public. I dance alone because that kind of dancing doesn't require a partner anyway. But last night when I danced, I held my hands as if they were on the shoulder and holding the hand of a man, a partner. I dipped and swayed and pretended my cheek was against his, that I was at a dance, that I was a different person. I was not happy with the thought of single dancing, but I was almost happy dancing with a shadow man. This is the King of Spain, I thought. My husband was upstairs in his room working on some project or watching sports TV. He came down once for a Coke and smiled at me. Poor Diane, he said. Didn't offer to dance. Went back upstairs and left me with my teenage music and shadow man. What middle age brings is the knowledge you can never be young again. Oddly satisfying once you stop being sad. You can dance with a shadow partner and not feel you have failed. You can dance alone and not think it's because there's something wrong with you. You can invent a lover and not think you are crazy. You can make him say all the things your husband or lovers never said. And he'll dance when you want to dance, and when you are tired, you can retire to bed with your book, drink a last cup of tea, and fall asleep next to your kind husband who whispers, "Poor Diane," and he holds you closer like a child to assuage you, to hold you, to love you securely as no father, as no lover, even the invisible one, ever has. This final poem is part of the manuscript called Noir. It's in film noir, and it begins with an epigraph from our own Michigan poet Theodore Redke. The whiskey on your breath could make a small boy dizzy, but I hung on like death. Such waltzing was not easy. From my father's waltzing. This is called Dancing with My Father. Between the waltz and foxtrot, my mother waited for her Polish sailor to polka home from his aircraft carrier. No matter how short his leave, they would go out dancing, leaving a trail of Shalimar and Old Spice. Though if you saw my mother, as I saw her, ugly-footed, heavy-hipped, German coffee body, you would not think dancer. From the dirt-floored cabin on North Dakota's immigrant airplane to Southern California's salty Long Beach pier. She drove in her rattling Ford, almost as if it were a quest to find such a man as my father. His broad Slavic face made for joyful noise. And during the war, when there was a reason for his silence, his absence, she found an image that anchored her dancing romance to my father. Anchors Away, Gene Kelly and Frank Sinatra, 1945. Katherine Grayson, with the voice of a diva, wearing one of the ugliest dresses ever seen. Sheer white with appliqued sunflowers. And of course, squirty 10-year-old Dean Stockwell, setting a fashion for every little boy to wear a sailor suit and white hat. For film history, there was that dancing mouse. This movie still looks good and sounds even better, even to my new millennium ears. One of the many Technicolor movies she took us to see, not nearly so special for me as for her. For heroes, I'd probably prefer Gene Kelly as D'Artagnan or Howard Keel as a riverboat captain. But here, for my mother, were two dancing sailors. My daddy multiplied, and the one she loved was the true dancer. As a kid, I should have gone strictly for the cartoon, but for me, the mouse was only a distraction. Like my mother, I watched with longing the man whose cheek was as smooth as a sword blade, whose feet as neat as pinstripes, and who could charm any woman, but only wanted one. And any woman watching the film knew she was the one loved by the sailor, who danced and gave me everything. Though I am so afraid of water, I still cannot swim or sail, and never was anything but a wallflower at any dance I ever attended. I live now in a landlocked house, in front of which each summer is a stand of gigantic sunflowers, their heads bowing low to my husband's garden ribbons. And the only time I go out dancing now is when I go to the movies. My husband comes home every night, as my father never did, and as the